Brother Eye, let's have a look at Swamp Thing, specifically his trait known as Abigail's Garden. It is a unique trait where Swamp Thing is capable of placing plants on the ground that expand as he walks. You can even see that his trait bar fills up with plants until a certain point, where it completely covers the bar and he can't place any more. Now, what's noteworthy is that he can also choose to place it back and forth, and any advancing strings will also allow him to plant more ground, allowing him to keep up pressure going. However, because he has the bar style trait, if it gets clashed or there's a super move or anything like that, the cooldown resets. Swamp Thing is also unique in that he can choose to not put any more. And the benefit of that is now you only have a single patch to kind of set up as a bridge or to kind of keep as an ever-present threat. Or put it away if you don't want it there. But because you are putting away the trait, it resets your trait. So you will have to wait just as long. And you cannot dash or jump while it's active if you want to keep planting the garden. But you can crouch and still have the garden ready to plant. It's very strange, but I digress. Another thing is that if Swamp Thing chooses to let the timer run out and not move while inside of the garden, like if he meter burns it with one of his gear abilities, then he can wait. Then the cooldown is actually reduced in comparison to the normal cooldown if he chose to stop growing said garden, or if he let it run out by walking until he couldn't plant anymore. So there's a weird thing where if you haven't planted, that you can still plant more, but it might not last as long as if you just leave a patch of it and just let it wear down on its own. There is another caveat to this trait, however, and that's it goes away on hit. If Poison Ivy does a hard knockdown and then hits Swamp Thing while he wakes up at Abigail's Garden, it's gone, and he has to start all over again. This is a real problem for Swamp Thing because unlike certain characters like Atrocitus who get to keep their trait on hit, Swamp Thing doesn't. And I feel that that's not right. He really should be able to keep that trait because it's not that great of a trait if you think about it. Because you have to kind of throw your opponent in there, and once they're in there, by the way, they take DOT and they can't jump, leaving them open to your command grabs. Cool. Except you can backdash and move and all of these kinds of things, and the DOT isn't really going to bother you all that much. And as you can see, it goes away relatively quickly when I still have trait to plant. But if I backdash so that I plant it there, it takes even longer to go away than it reasonably should. I think it takes almost a minute for it to kind of go away at this rate. I'm even doing the tree dance. Boom, boom, bada, boom. And that's really all there is to it about Abigail's Wrath. I really wish that gear abilities were kind of allowed, at least to some extent. And one of them is, just the new Trunk Punch thing that I got recently, which is really cool. But he has an alternate trait where he teleports. That would be really cool, and it would come in especially handy for Swamp Thing. But what do you guys think about Abigail's Wrath? Have you been able to find anything interesting with the garden, or have you just not bothered? I know not a lot of people play Swamp Thing these days, so I'm not expecting a lot of people to be like, oh, I made Swamp Thing and I know this, this, and this, but I'm open to hearing suggestions. Please comment and like and all of that good stuff, and as always, don't forget to be awesome.